Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Tandorio GMT with an NH34 movement. It is New Year's Eve when I'm filming this, so that means I won't post this till New Year's Day. So Happy New Year's, everybody. Be sure to enjoy the year 2024, and hopefully I'll continue another year of this channel. Let's start with the wrist check. Since it is the new year, I'm wearing my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer, and Grogu is wearing my Pagani Design PD 1758 World Time GMT. Ben Solo asked Grogu if he was making any New Year's resolutions. Grogu said that he would stop eating so many frog eggs. Then Grogu asked Ben what about him. Ben said he would try to follow in his father's footsteps. That way he'll never see it coming. Alright, let's take a look at the watch. It comes in this typical Tandorio box. I've never had a Tandorio that didn't come in this box. And here is the watch. Isn't that a nice looking watch? I really like it. This is the fourth Tandorio on my channel. Tandorio makes watches in the Pagani Design Caddis and price range and offers some pretty good looking watches for the price, and this NH34 Power GMT is no exception. And it looks really good. I always mention that Jody won't review Tandorio because it reminds him of Indian food. Keep in mind I can't assume that everyone watching this video is a return viewer. This is, of course, an homage to the Rolex GMT Master 2, which is a very popular watch to homage because it is a downright good-looking design. There are rumors that Rolex is going to discontinue the Pepsi GMT because the ceramic bezel is extremely difficult to make and they end up throwing away 80% of them, and it is hard to justify such a waste in this modern eco-conscious world. A company that makes solid gold watches worried about the environmental waste of a few tiny ceramic bezels just makes the mind boggle. Tandorio, as well as most of the rest of the AliExpress homage world, has solved the Pepsi conundrum by using aluminum for the Pepsi bezel versions. I'm not sure if Tandorio uses ceramic for their other colorways, which include Coke, Batman, and All Black, as it didn't say in the ad, but I think it looks that way in the pictures. If you don't like the oyster-style bracelet, there is also the Jubilee. The watch is 40.5 millimeters at the bezel, 47.3 millimeters lug to lug with protruding end links. It's 13.7 millimeters thick, which is kind of thick. Has a 20 millimeter lug width and weighs 155 grams on the supply bracelet with 2 links removed. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional. The clicks are nice, not too light, not too heavy, and there is no back play at all. Unfortunately, it is 120 click when a watch like this, a GMT, should be a 48 bidirectional bezel. But as I mentioned before, most of these watches look just like their dive watch counterparts, and it is easier for these homage companies just to reuse pieces from their dive style watches. So that's just the economy of it all. And this does indeed have an aluminum insert because it is really difficult to make the ceramic for a Pepsi. But I'm pretty sure the other colorways have ceramic, but I can't verify that for sure because I can't tell by looking at the ad. Then the dial is a flat black with no sunburst effect. It's a nice deep black, which is good. Then we have the Tandorio name and logo printed on top. I don't hate the Tandorio name and logo. I don't know why it gets so much derision from other people. It's fine. I've seen a lot worse. Then on the bottom it says GMT. Then it says automatic water resist 200 meters. So yes, it's claiming 200 meters. Another watch reviewer out there has had issues with Tandorios and water resistance because he actually has a tester. I do not have a tester, so I cannot vouch for the water resistance. I don't know. Swim with this do not dive with this watch, but swim with it at your own risk. Then we have applied lume indices, and the lume isn't great. I'll show you in a test later. And then we have the hands. We have your typical Rolex style with fence post minute hand, Mercedes hour hand, lollipop second hand, and then we have a triangle for the GMT hand. And of course the GMT is red on a Pepsi bezeled version and the Coke bezeled version, but blue on the Batman bezeled version. Then we have a date at the 3 with a Cyclops that does a pretty good job of magnifying. So a lot of people don't like Cyclops. My opinion is if you're going to have one, at least have it magnify worth of crap, and this one does. Then we have an unsigned screw down crown with significant crown guards. The thread action seems fine. You don't feel a lot of resistance when they go out. And when you go back in, you don't feel a lot of resistance either. That's great. Because this being a GMT watch and an automatic, you'll be using the crown quite a bit. Then we have a flat sapphire crystal, and it is sapphire because I tested it just to make sure nobody was fibbing. And then we have the case. The case is your basic oyster style case, polished on the sides, brushed up tops and bottom, and it works just fine. Looks nice. It's one of them flat cases, but since this is a 40 millimeter, it's not too big, so it really doesn't need the curved lugs unless your wrist is really small. Then we have the case back. The case back is a coin edge with no writing, and it is a screw down. You will need a 29.5 millimeter tool to open it. And fortunately, that is the largest one that comes in them kits that you see quite a bit on AliExpress and Amazon. That's the kit I ordered, so I do have an opener for it. Underneath the case back is the NH34 movement. This is a GMT version of the NH35. It is a 24 jewel 3 hertz movement that hand winds hacks and has a bidirectional rotor. And they are fairly accurate right off the shelf. This is what's known as a collar GMT, not a traveler's GMT. Basically, to use it, when you go ahead and unscrew the crown and put it in the first position, if you turn it counterclockwise, it moves the date. And if you turn it clockwise, it moves the GMT hand. And it does it in hour increments. So unlike most of the cheaper GMT movements, such as the DG5833 that Pagani Design used to use before the NH34 came out, it's a little bit easier to set because of this. So let's go ahead and put on the Timegrapher and see how it's doing. Here it is on the Timegrapher. As you can see, it's running about +8, +7, +6. So it's not running too fast. So that's pretty good there. And the amplitude is good. But uh-oh, look at that beat error. We got a whole 1 millisecond of beat error. And that is why you see 2 lines on the screen. I wish there was less beat error. But the accuracy is pretty good. And so is the amplitude. It's just, I guess, if I had anything wrong with it, I guess I'd rather have beat error than accuracy. The bracelet is a 3-link oyster style, and the links are fixed. They are not fully articulating. And we do have solid end links, but they are protruding, making the watch wear a little bit bigger. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, so a 40 millimeter with protruding end links never bothers me. But if your wrist was smaller than 7, then maybe you might want some inverted ones. And then we do have screw pin adjusters, not push pins. I personally prefer push pins because I think they're easier, but I understand that most people consider screw pins to be a premium item. So most people prefer screw pins. And then we have the clasp. The clasp was a pleasant surprise because I really didn't realize it when I was ordering it. but we do have on-the-fly adjustment. So that is great. You just pull it out here, adjust it to where you want it to go, then just press it back in. Really simple, no need to get out tools. This is especially a good feature on these clasps that look like a roll oyster style, because it's really almost impossible to use the micro adjust otherwise. So that's really good there. Kudos for Tandorio to make a watch with the on-the-fly adjustment for this price. That's really a big deal. There is no signage on the clasp, but since most people don't like the Tandorio name and logo anyway, nobody cares. Here's the watch of my 7.5-inch wrist. I think that looks nice, wears nice. Has a good wrist roll. Really nice looking watch. And I removed 2 links and went into maybe about half of the micro adjust of the clasp. So you could probably wear this 8.5. So that is probably big enough, but if your wrist is any bigger than that, you will need extra links. Here we are in the Lume room. You can usually tell if a watch is going to have great lume or not by simply wearing the thing for review purposes. Unfortunately, this Tandorio hasn't given me any reason to expect anything great with this test. As we speed up the time, we see it starts out with a pretty good initial glow, but everything seems to be fading fairly fast. But look at that GMT hand. It outshines everything else. Too bad the rest of the watch wasn't like that. What do I like about this watch? Well, you're getting an NH34 power GMT for under $100. On-the-fly adjustable clasp, and the Cyclops actually magnifies. What are my gripes and groans? Has a coin edge case back, so it means you need a special tool to open it, and not everybody has that tool. And it has some pretty weak lume. And there's a lot of beat error on the movement. Do I recommend this watch? Sure, you really aren't going to get an NH34 power GMT any cheaper than this, especially with an on-the-fly adjustable clasp. And this one is just fine other than the lume. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Tandorio NH34 powered GMT watch with the Pepsi bezel, and I will be back with another review. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.